Hi, welcome to Audiobook Academy. This is a self-paced audiobook. There's no need to keep an eye on things. Just pay attention. Thank you for taking the time to listen. This is a book summary of Fast Food Nation, The Dark Side of the All-American Meal by Schlosser. Is this something you've ever heard of? Many of us are guilty of continuing to eat unhealthy foods despite knowing they are bad for us. To err is human, as the saying goes. However, according to our author, the global behemoth that is the fast food industry is no longer an option. Knowing about this industry is essential because it goes beyond the food they sell us. There are more sinister aspects to the business model that Fast Food Nation exposes. No matter how long ago you grew up without the convenience of fast food, you've had an impact on the food chain, and award-winning journalist Schlosser is here to explain how. Schlosser takes us on a journey through the history of food production and the modern food chain in this fascinating exposé on fast food. There has been a direct correlation between the rise in obesity and health problems and the rise in food production. It's the ethical implications that linger long after we've learned about the processes involved in making a typical fast food burger. Here we go again. Let's take a closer look at the friendly, colorful buildings that serve us up our favorite foods. The Golden Arches. Fast food has a long history, dating back to the 1950s. A safe haven and place to enjoy the burgeoning consumer lifestyle were found in suburbia after the end of World War II. Automobiles and drive-in restaurants came along with this new way of life. The groundwork had been laid for a paradigm shift in the way we view food. The McDonald's brothers, who revolutionized the way restaurants prepared and served food to customers, made fast and convenient the two most important keywords. In an effort to speed up the production process and expedite the delivery of food, the brothers created the speedy service system. Having professional cooks was no longer necessary because of the new method of food preparation and the standardization of the food. The McDonald's method of food production saved enormous amounts of money while maintaining exacting standards by creating an assembly line. In order to achieve rapid and efficient consistency, they devised a formula that may sound familiar: Ray Kroc. He's frequently portrayed as the antagonist in the McDonald's saga. McDonald's franchising was spearheaded by Ray Kroc. McDonald's mission and ethos center on family, community, service, cleanliness, quality, integrity, and value, but this book reveals that many large corporate food chains have a much darker side. The dark side of the force. He is also responsible for trademarking those famous Golden Arches. There is a lot of emphasis on family values and wholesome living in the marketing of many fast food restaurants. Indeed, many of them are driving forces in American society. When it comes to McDonaldization, Schlosser reveals that what we see on the surface of the American fast food chain isn't reflective of what's going on behind the scenes. George Ritzer coined the term McDonaldization in 1993. It alludes to the fascinating development that the world is becoming increasingly homogeneous as a result of globalization. The problem with homogeneity is that it tends to promote the products of the dominant culture. Although it's true, as Schlosser argues, that the wholesome all-American lifestyle we see on posters and television commercials isn't wrong, what we're not seeing are the numerous exploitative practices by this huge industry. Not to mention all of the social, environmental, political, and health issues that have resulted as a result of the use of candy.kids and candy stores. The old adage about children and candy stores is probably familiar to you. The effects of marketing and advertising on children have been studied extensively. As long as they can see it, children have an incredible ability to persuade. Although they have a relatively low income, children and teenagers are an extremely valuable target market. While this has been going on since the 1970s, it really took off in the 1980s when both parents started working and spending more time at work. Companies exploited the babysitter reputation of television to gain access to a whole new market. Because they're like sponges, children are ideal customers because they're so receptive to advertising messages. Parental guilt is a common problem, and as a result, parents will go to extreme measures to make their children happy. There is no doubt that children have a significant impact on our decisions if you've ever spent time with them. Is a restaurant kid-friendly? Do they have a playground? Do they have kid-friendly menu options? How often have you wondered about this? Even if parents foot the bill, kids often have the final say on where to eat. Since then, many other restaurants have followed McDonald's lead and implemented the same strategy. Do you remember sending away cereal box tokens in exchange for special toys as a child? When did you first discover a toy in your cereal box? Those of you who recall this episode are aware of the power toys wield when it comes to determining the most popular cereal in a given household. When it came down to it, the toy was more important than the type of cereal. With the introduction of the Happy Meal, McDonald's took this concept to a whole new level. The Pied Piper of fast food chains is McDonald's. With the help of mascots like Ronald McDonald, Hamburglar, Grimace, and Mayor McCheese, McDonaldland was born. There was a McDonaldland on television as well as in McDonald's restaurants. These well-known characters were featured in miniseries commercials, all vying for a taste of their favorite McDonald's menu items. What do you think happened when McDonald's added breakfast items to its menu? Birdie the early bird makes an appearance from the right side of the stage. McDonald's made these characters a part of their mise-en-scene, and they became Happy Meal toys for children across the country. For those who have studied the history of McDonald's Happy Meal toys and collector's items, it's clear that the company went all out in its efforts at attracting children. Young people's loyalty to the fan club was solidified by appealing to their sense of collecting and following the latest fads and trends. In light of this, it should come as no surprise that nearly all American children aged 3 to 9 regularly consume fast food from McDonald's. When fast food and soda companies began targeting schools, things took a turn for the worse. Several food and beverage companies made a concerted effort to reach out to schools in order to promote their products. In addition to advertising on school buses and hallways, some companies offered sponsorship deals and even provided their food for school cafeterias. 30% of high schools sell branded fast food, according to research. Unfortunately, this all paints a bleak picture when it comes to promoting healthy lifestyles among young people. Please add fries to that. The ideal job for some people may be working at their favorite fast food restaurant. The task of flipping burgers, serving sodas, and entering a customer's order into the till isn't that difficult. Because the job isn't particularly difficult, it's easy to exploit workers. The problem is that when a job is simple enough that anyone can do it, it opens the door for abuse. These are the kinds of jobs where anyone can do them, and that makes the typical fast food worker a prime target for exploitation. This system often leaves teenagers, the elderly, migrants, and the differently abled feeling underpaid and overworked. If you've ever worked in a factory or an assembly line, you'll know that the tasks are repetitive and easy to learn. As a result, workers at fast food establishments are largely unnecessary. There is a high turnover rate because workers have little or no control over their work. Workers in the fast food industry typically have a tenure of less than a year before being let go or terminated. As a result, it's easy to replace staff members because you have cheap labor and labor that isn't difficult to train. Many workers have been laid off as a result of the push to automate in order to increase efficiency and reduce costs. And if you're laid off or exploited in any way, you won't get any help from the government. There is a strong anti-union bias in the industry, and workers who try to organize are either sacked or harassed. According to Schlosser, not a single fast food worker in the United States is represented by a union. A monopoly game. Think fast food has had a positive impact on farming in America? There's no doubt in my mind that in a market economy, the more demand you generate, the happier your suppliers will be. You'd be wrong, as it happens. It costs $1.50 to get a McDonald's fries order. Exactly how much of that money do you think is going to the potato grower? 2 cents is the approximate answer. Farmers have been adversely affected by the demands of big corporations and the monopolies they have created. Farmers are being forced to accept low prices for their crops, which has had a devastating impact on the entire agricultural sector. Where did all of this come from, though? Remember when we talked about the importance of being consistent and adhering to high standards? Your raw materials must be consistent if you want to maintain this magical consistency. McDonald's beef comes from nearly 200 local farmers as a result of the chain's commitment to supporting small-scale farmers in the first stages of its business. However, as your business grows, you'll come to realize the importance of consistency, which is why you'll need to create firms rather than farms. Currently, McDonald's relies on just 5 beef suppliers. The fast food industry in the United States has built up a network of distribution centers and businesses with enormous purchasing power. Large agribusinesses have a lot of power over farmers, and as a result, many of them end up having to sell their farms in order to make ends meet, and then they are forced to work on the very farms that they sold in order to get by. What's in the box? For many years, the meatpacking industry has had a history of unethical practices toward both animals and their employees. In the same way that the fast food industry works under similar principles, the meatpacking industry does too. It is based on the use of assembly lines and low-cost labor. Since many workers are undocumented, homeless, or refugees, they have little control over their employment status and are in desperate need of a paycheck. Workers are discouraged from organizing because the industry refuses to pay for basic health care and annual leave. Meatpacking plants and slaughterhouses have hazardous working conditions. This type of factory in the United States is the most dangerous to work in, with an injury rate 3 times higher than any other type of factory. Hazardous equipment, inexperienced workers, and a rush to meet production deadlines create a deadly combination. It's no surprise that so many people get hurt at work. Injuries are only partially compensated, too. In your opinion, what is the value of a finger? Between $2,200 and $4,500, according to the meatpacking industry. Flavorful to the core. Amazingly, no matter where you get your fast food fix, it always tastes the same. Fast food items taste the same no matter where you eat them, regardless of where you live or what city you're in. The consistency of the food is astounding. Keeping to a schedule can be expensive. It has an effect on our health as well as the agricultural industry. In the past, have you ever checked out the ice cream label? Because they are flavored, most store-bought ice creams do not contain any actual fruit. Your favorite strawberry or banana milkshake at your favorite fast food joint contains flavorings. One of the most important factors in creating food that tastes the same is the flavor industry, which is worth billions of dollars. As a result of this uniformity, all fast food menu items taste the same. Artificial flavorings have a problem because the industry is largely unregulated and flavor companies aren't required to disclose the ingredients of their flavor compounds. As a result, anything goes when you see the words artificial flavor on a fast food menu item. Not only does fast food contain artificial ingredients, but it has been linked to a high rate of contamination. As a result of the way meat is processed and the fact that it comes from a small number of meat plants, contaminated meat spreads quickly. Since the advent of fast food, E. coli outbreaks have increased dramatically. Burger King's centralized beef processing plant was infected with E. coli in 1997, resulting in the consumption of 25 million pounds of tainted meat. E. coli infections. There have been numerous cases of children being hospitalized or dying after eating contaminated fast food. Coli are particularly dangerous for children. To sum it up, obesity is a huge problem in the United States, and it has enormous social, economic, and health consequences. Obesity-related healthcare costs reached $240 billion in 2001, according to Schlosser. Overweight and obesity-related health problems are on the rise all over the world as a result of globalization and the McDonaldization of fast food. Food is politics, as Anthony Bourdain famously stated. Schlosser takes us into the fast food industry's underbelly to reveal its true cost. This industry's treatment of its workers is a clear example of how our current political system fails us. It's a tragic irony that a business model intended to promote core American values has instead led to their destruction. So the next time you pull up to your favorite fast food restaurant and are greeted with, "Can I take your order?" you'll know what to expect. Ask yourself how much it's really costing you. Thank you for listening in Audiobook Academy. Please don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. See you in next audiobook.